Well, one of the many, many MPs in the chamber for that occasion was Derby North MP Amanda Solloway. Morning, Amanda.
Good morning.
It's quite extraordinary to watch. What is it like to be there? How was the atmosphere?
Wow. Well, it was, as you say, a piece of history because it's never happened before, and the house, it was absolutely packed. The deference from all of us on all sides of the party was absolutely immense, and personally, and I'm sure I'm not alone in this, the humility and the respect that I felt for this amazing, amazing man who gave a short address because he can't remain in one place for very long for fear of being found. It's just absolutely incredible. So, wow, yes, a piece of history, but the courage is absolutely immense.
Has anything remotely like that, to your knowledge, happened in Westminster, in the Palace of Westminster before?
I think was it something like 400 years ago when Charles the First did an address. I'm sure not, my history is 100% on that, but no, I mean obviously the precedent was set. The House was suspended, which allowed it to happen. It was packed, absolutely packed to the rims. I've certainly never seen it like that. I don't think anybody has.
How preoccupied is not necessarily the business of the House of Commons all the time, but the chatter around Westminster when it comes to Ukraine at the moment?
Well, I've just actually come from a briefing, which I'm happy to give you some information from if you'd like some
Mm.
in a bit. But of course, I think the reality is that 14 days ago, and this came across really clearly from when the president was talking to us, 14, 15 days ago, we were not in this position. Ukraine hadn't come under attack, and that just shows you the swiftness that this has happened. But also the courage that the Ukraine people are showing is absolutely immense. Standing firm, saying this will not happen, we will not let this happen, and then the support that I've been having from everybody is obviously incredibly dominant in all of our thoughts at the moment. So yes, clearly it is dominating everything that we're doing at the minute.
What was the briefing about?
So the briefing was, I knew obviously you contacted me in terms of coming on to talk to you. So I thought I'd go along and see if I could get some really up to date information. And there were a couple of things that they were talking about. One was how our defence is going and how the Russians are progressing. And on that, it was saying that they're not making as much progress. We know this as much as they'd hoped. The Russians had hoped, which is again all credit to the Ukrainians. And also, they were saying that a lot of the air loss for the Russians is mostly friendly fire, and that was one part of the briefing. And then the other side was the humanitarian side. That clearly, as you know me well, Ian, and really concerned about how we support in country, how we support those who are fleeing the country, and how we support those who are coming over to country. And it was really, for me, incredibly interesting to think about that, not just the help that we're giving in Ukraine, but we are actually extending help via the emergency to Poland and to other countries supporting people who are fleeing. So it's a real collective effort that's going on.
Just on that front, do you get any
Yeah,
sense that the Home Office are stepping up that? Because there's been a bit of a palaver, hasn't there? I mean, I think yesterday Priti Patel stood up and said there's an emergency visa centre been set up in Calais, and then had to say, oh, actually, no,
yeah,
there's not. And then there's people gone to Calais, been told they've got to go to a different city. And 300 odd people we last heard who were waiting in France because they've been turned back.
yeah,
Thousands who have got applications in and are getting nowhere to come to the UK. Is that going to step up?
yeah. So absolutely, and I think in all honesty, these things have been set up. So we do need to remember. I say, 14 days in. However, the efforts to all being stepped up. So, as an example, I know that a refugee minister was appointed last night. You probably saw that announced. Richard Harrington, I know Richard personally. He will have a great commitment to ensuring that everything is done. We also know that, I say, we've been sending out an incredible amount of money. If I may, one thing that came across really clearly in the briefing that I've is whilst it's of course it's really appreciated the donations that people are wanting to do in terms of sending blankets, sleeping bags, etc., all those essentials. The best thing that could be sent is actually sending money, and the reason for that is it can get to exactly where it needs to get to, because not only are people obviously fleeing Ukraine, but they're being displaced within Ukraine, and the more money that is available to all of those that they can use in all of those places, the better. And I honestly, and I haven't actually thought about that. I thought let's send as much help as we can in any means, but clearly that message is send money over.
If I could just play another little burst of President Zelensky's address yesterday. This is him spelling out quite clearly what it is that he would hope for from the UK.
I'm very grateful to you, Boris. Please increase the pressure of sanctions against this country, and please recognize this country as a terrorist state. And please make sure that our Ukrainian skies are safe.
So it's a simple wish list, isn't it? Increase the sanctions, call Russia a terrorist state, and protect the Ukrainian skies. Are we doing any of that?
Yes. Yes, so again, you will know, and it has been obviously publicised as well, that there are lots of things that are being done, and you will have seen yesterday the economic crime bill that went through Parliament. So we are really mindful of all of those things that need doing. But I would also say that we need to be incredibly sensitive to making sure that we're not triggering further actions from Russia, and that is really important to be really mindful of that. And the other thing to mention and I just mentioned Russia. You know, this isn't Russian people. I know you've heard that said before. This is Putin who's actually being the aggressor here. But from our point of view, just to give you assurance, we are looking at all of the sanctions. You'll have seen more announcements today from Secretary of State for Transport. He's announced that we're stepping up the back centres, making sure that people can get those visas as swiftly as possible. And we really are just making sure that we're giving full support, but being mindful of the parameters that we can operate under.
I mean, just on sanctions, I don't know if you've seen, there was some data gathered by, I think it was Sky News, saying that in the UK there are just over 300 UK sanctions against Russia. 35 of them were introduced since the end of February. By comparison, in the US, they've sanctioned almost 1,200 individuals and companies, a fifth of those in the last 2 weeks. We've got fewer sanctions still now than Australia, the EU, Switzerland, Canada, America.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we need to make sure that it's proportionate. They probably have a larger number of sanctions to make. However, one of the things that we're really conscious of is we need to act really swiftly, and we are absolutely making sure that we are looking at all of those sanctions. Say there's been announcements made today from Secretary of State in terms of transport. There's going to be, I believe, there's some announcements coming in a bit around energy as well. That's going to happen today. So we are really cranking up all the things that we're doing, and also just to mention, you know, the humanitarian support that we've given. I think I'm not very good with numbers, as you know, but I think it's sort of £220 million that we have put to enable all that support that needs to be happening. But let's just make it perfectly clear that the UK, we are leading the way on all of this. We do not want.
In what way leading the way, Amanda? When I literally just named all those countries that are doing more.
Well, we've been convening a lot of those countries all working together. We have been having ongoing negotiations. I know you have seen those happening as well. We have been putting all the sanctions in place. I know, for example, when we've been talking about the transport sanctions, we've been encouraging other countries to take part in that. I know that we've been putting forward things around the humanitarian aid, the amount of money that we're putting forward, the support that we're giving. I mean, one of the key things that you will have seen in the speech that came out yesterday is that the president is really clear that people from Ukraine want to return to Ukraine as soon as possible. And that is one of the things that we want to enable to happen, is making sure that we are giving them everything that we possibly can. And it's around all those things. It's around that diplomatic aid, it's around that political aid, and around that economic aid as well, but also making sure that we're acting in a humanitarian way.
Are sanctions going to stop Putin?
Well, I think I think there's a combination of things that will stop him. And my plea would be, I mean, we all want him to stop. I think sanctions absolutely are going to be part of it. I think they're going to play a major part, our sanctions and the rest of the world's sanction as well. I hope it doesn't go any further. But the one thing to me that has been astounding in all of this is the bravery and courage of the Ukrainians. And they stand firm and they're saying not in our country. And for me, that will be the single strongest thing, along with all of our support, that will stop this going any further.
Can you see a point where we have to step up and do more than sanctions?
Oh, well, I don't know. We will do, as you know, we will do what we can. We have supplied military support in terms of, helping in Ukraine in terms of making the supporting their army there. But there is a diplomatic conversation, isn't there, that needs to take place in terms of how much we can do, because what we don't want to create an even worse situation. So really sanctions are the way forward. They are getting stronger and stronger daily. That message is coming across, as I mentioned earlier. You know, the hostile, it's actually friendly fire that's bringing it down. Some of the Russian troops from a helicopter point of view. And we just have to keep on and on supporting and getting as many people out as we can.
Amanda, thanks for coming on this morning.
Thank you very much.
Amanda